Right. In the process of recording question 5, my screen was frozen, unfortunately. So I prefer to do it again. Let's quickly look at question 5 and what information have been given. What's the information given? Okay, 500 kilograms, a pallet of bricks. So here we have a 500 G as its weight force. On a rough plane means it should have some sort of frictional force. Angle alpha degrees to the horizontal and the tangent alpha is 7 on 24. So think of the special values, 7, 24, and 25, okay? And from this diagram, you should get sine alpha is 7 on 25 and cosine alpha is 24 on 25 from this diagram. Opposite over adjacent, opposite over hypotenuse. Your sine value, opposite adjacent over hypotenuse. This is your cosine value. And you should treat the container with water altogether. M kilograms plus 10 kilograms. 1 liter of water means 1 kilograms because 1 liter of water has weight force 9.8 newtons, okay? So here comes our 10 plus mg. And they tell you the pallet of bricks is held in equilibrium by a tension of T newtons in the cable. So these two letters must be the same. And you have a normal reaction force coming from the perpendicular resolute of 500 G, perpendicular to the plane, okay? Finally, the 50 G newtons acting up and parallel to the plane. That means the resistance force is acting upwards and parallel to the plane. So you need to label everything correctly in part A. Then you need to show that the value of M is 80. What I would suggest is copy this diagram. Do a rough one, not very exquisite. Just draw another one here. And with all the same labeling, you get 2 extra force components near 500 G, okay? That means you resolved this force in perpendicular and parallel directions. With these 2 resolved force, you are able to list all possible equations because the system, this one and this one, is in equilibrium. So the resultant force is 0. So the sum of these 2 forces, T and 50G, will be 500G sine alpha, and T will be the same as M plus 10G, okay? Now, with these equations, you have a redundant condition because you don't need to deal with coefficient of friction here. In the previous study design, you need to use F equals mu n, but now you don't need to, okay? So you don't need to list this one. This is just my habit. And from our previous diagram, you should be able to get the special value for sine alpha and cosine alpha. So sub everything in, sub into the second equation, you should get 10 plus mg, which is here, plus 50g equals 500g times 7 on 25, as I wrote here. And then you just do the normal calculations like what I did here to show M is 80. Again, for any show that question, include every possible bit of working out possible. Suddenly, the water is completely emptied from the container. That means we don't have the 10 GB anymore. So let's just carry out the diagram as well and see if we have anything different. And the pallet of bricks begins to slide down the plane. Okay, once it slides down the plane, does the frictional force change direction? No, because it's opposite to the moving direction. Okay, so we can still use the diagram, but with another mg here. Okay, let's just copy everything. Screenshot. Take a screenshot, copy, and let's see. So this is mg, which is 80g, okay? Because we have shown m equals 80. Okay, we want to find the distance. Originally, the system was in equilibrium, but here we have 10g less. That means we have an extra 10g force acting on the system. If the container lost all 10 kilograms of water, the whole system has 10g extra resultant force. Mass, combined mass, I mean, is 80 plus 500, which is 580 kilograms. Using F equals M times A. 10G is 580 times A. So A is 10G over 580. 5G divided by 290, if I'm not mistaken. Right, so here comes our CAS calculator, and let's see. 5 times 9.8 divided by 290. Looks like, yes. Let's do it again. So 10G equals 580 times A, comma A. 9.8. Okay, should be okay with this one. And let's use after 10 seconds, U is 0. And let's solve for S equals U times T plus half times A times T squared. For S, given that A is that value here, and T is 10, and U is 0. Right, this is our distance. Good. So the key is to identify your constant acceleration first, then use SUVAT. U is 0, V is nothing, don't know yet. S is anything, A is, let's use 49 over 290. We want to give the exact value because they don't want us to round it to any decimal places, okay? T is 10. So S is UT plus half AT squared. S is 0 plus half times 49 over 290 times 10 to the power of 2. S is 245 over 49 meters, okay? The final answer. Right, let's move on. When the pallet reaches a velocity of 3 meters per second, water is poured back into the container at a constant rate, 2 liters per second. So 1 liter of water means 1 kilogram. That means 1 G newtons, okay? And our mass is 80 plus 2T. So that's it, kilograms. Then we want to show the acceleration of the pallet down the plane. Down the plane is given by this guy here. So if we take a look back our original equation, I would say this force here, minus T plus that weight force will give you the combined equation. Why don't we just copy everything down here with another notation? take a screenshot. As I said, if one diagram is not enough, draw another one. Here you have AT plus 2T times G, okay? Right. 500G times 7 on 25, okay? This is 7 on 25 minus T plus T minus AT plus 2T times G. This is your combined part of the resultant force. And don't forget, you need to involve the combined mass. Combined mass is 500 plus 80 plus 2T, okay? So here you should have 140G. These two will get rid of each other, minus 80G minus 2TG is 580 plus 2T times 8. 60G minus 2TG is 2 out. 290 plus T times 8. So 30G, is that true? I forgot something. Don't forget the 50G, okay? Minus 50G here. Let's just rectify this problem. Minus 50G, okay? So you should have instead this one braced, 10G minus 2T. Here you should have 2, 5 minus 2T, minus T times G, which is 290 plus T times 8. And cancel them out. A is G 5 minus T divided by 290 plus T, okay? As required. Don't forget you still have a 50G acting upwards. That's why you need to subtract 50G because your final direction is downwards the plane, okay? For this guy here, it's traveling upwards. Find the velocity of the pallet when t equals 4. Give your answer in meters per second, correct to 1 decimal place. So when the pallet reaches the velocity of 3 meters per second, that is your initial velocity at this stage. So V0 is 3, V4 is unknown, V4 minus V0 is the integral from 0 to 4, 9.8, 5 minus t divided by 290 plus t dt. So V4 is 0 to 4, 9.8, 5 minus t divided by 290 plus t dt. Plus, what is the value here? 3, okay? A common mistake for students to make here is just calculating this definite integral here, okay? And it's not enough for us to just calculate the definite integral. I think you must use this form here, okay? So, get our CAS calculator and see how we go. Zero to 4, 9.8, comma, 5 minus t, 290 plus t, dt, plus 3. Control Enter. Yes, 3.4. That is your final answer. Okay, there we go. Right, so always remember, for any problems involving definite integrals, make sure you realize the initial value. Sometimes you are not just finding the net change. You need to involve the initial value. In this case, initial velocity. Right. Finally, if you want to skip this question for the purpose of 2020, please do so. But for later candidates, it might be useful. I'll just go through question 6 anyway. So the mean value is 3.55 and the standard deviation 0.66. The expected value of EX is just the sample mean value, 3.55 hours. And the standard deviation of X is sigma divided by square root of n. Population standard deviation is 0.66. And how many? 36. So 0.66 divided by 6, 0.11 hours. At a crash repair center, it was found that the mean time taken for the companies to paint to dry on the 36 randomly selected vehicles, okay, n equals 36. This is by X bar. Actually, this one is my population mean, okay? The expected value of a random variable is the population mean by central limit theorem. The management of this crash repair center was not happy and believed that the claim regarding the mean time taken for the paint to dry was too low. If it's too low, anyway, we want to take a statistical test. Okay, H0 and H1, longer than claimed. That is your key to answer the question. So your H0 is always mu equals mu naught. So H0 is mu equals 3.55, not 3.85, because that is your observation from the sample. And H1 in this case is mu greater than mu naught. So we are comparing the observed value with my initial mu value. There we go. Write down an expression for the p-value for the statistical test and evaluate it correct to 3 decimal places. So your p-value is actually the probability of X bar greater than the sample mean small x bar, given that H0 is true. So probability capital X bar is greater than 3.85, given that mu 0 is 3.55 and sigma standard deviation X is 0.11, okay? Now it's time for us to use the CAS calculator and evaluate this expression. So norm CDF 3.85 comma infinity to 3.55 and 0.11. This is great. This is way smaller than 0.05, okay? We want to evaluate that to 3 decimal places. Okay, now using a 1% level of significance, state with reason whether the crash repair center is justified in believing that the paint company's claim of a mean time taken for its paint to dry of 3.55 hours is too low. Don't worry about the description, just follow our trained procedure. Firstly, p-value is 0.003, which is way smaller than 0.01 level of significance. If this p-value is smaller than the level of significance, we have sufficient evidence or strong evidence, depending on how far it is away from the level of significance. To what? To reject H0, okay? If you are rejecting H0, was too low. Yes, it is justified. It is justified that the time taken is too low. Okay, at the 1% level of significance, find a set of sample mean values that would support the conclusion that the mean time taken for the paint to dry exceeded 3.55 hours. Give your answer in hours, corrected 3 decimal places. So, draw a diagram. X bar is here. This is a small X bar, 3.85. Exceeded 3.55. We want to find the set of sample mean values exceeded. So critical, we want to find a critical region. C star. Probability X bar greater than C star is 0.1. Go back to our CAS calculator and see inverse norm. I know my probability is 0.99 because it's the left tail probability. The mean value is 3.55, 0.11. Here comes our critical value, C star. So let's get back to the paper. C star is approximately 3.80589, blah, blah, blah. And to support H1, we must make sure it's rounded to 3 decimal places. So X bar is actually greater than or equal to 3.806, okay? If the true mean time taken for the paint to dry is 3.83 hours, find the probability that the paint company's claim is not rejected. Not rejected means the other way around for previous part. Given that mu is actually 3.83, standard deviation is not changed, 0.11. So probability X bar smaller than 3.80589. Given that mu is 3.83, sigma X bar is 0.11. Okay, now it's time to calculate what's called type 2 error probability. Get back to TIN SPI and the norm CDF. Minus infinity. Previous value as your critical value, 3.83, 0.11. Okay, quite a big number, 0.41. That is your probability of committing a type 2 error. You don't reject a false null hypothesis. correct to 2 decimal places. There we go. Okay, finally we finish here. Good luck with your final exam, and we will see each other soon in the future. Bye-bye.